Welcome, everybody. All of our Unity of London members, any guests, especially our guest speaker, Marilyn, will be introduced later. And we are rejoicing in our togetherness and the fact that we can see each other without masks on Zoom at our service. Our vision statement, you can read in your own home: a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. And Sylvia has a special announcement today about spirit groups.
So I talked last week about spirit groups. I just wanted to give a little bit more information. And this is comes from the spiritgroups.org website for those that would like to know more about it. But what is a spirit group? A spirit group is a small group of people who meet weekly to connect with one another while exploring a spiritual topic or theme. And what makes a spiritual group a spiritual group? It's about inspiring infinite connections. Spirit groups are more than small group gatherings. It's more than a small group discussion guide and a facilitator training. Spirit groups represent a cultural shift to mission-centered spiritual community. They equip leaders, engage community members, and provide outreach and social opportunities that inspire connections. And there are 5 spiritual disciplines that comprise the foundation for every spirit group. These values are expressed through each of our groups. 1 would be communion, 2 is connection, 3 is compassion, 4 is community, and 5 is challenge. Get connected. So we encourage people that are looking to or have had a call on their heart, or maybe you've led a small group ministry before, or practiced a small group. We're looking for those that might be interested in being a leader of a spiritual group. And this is not a long-term lifetime commitment. Spirit groups generally last 6, 8, 10 weeks. But we're doing our first group with the people that might be interested in being leaders so that you can experience what you will share, whether you do a leadership online or in your home or potentially at the church. So we are looking for those that might have that interest in a spiritual, in being a spiritual group or spirit leader group, spirit group leader. Thank you. Okay, and now on to go back to Pauline.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. And now I invite you to close your eyes if you choose as we gather in prayer. Today we hold in prayer especially Unity Christ Center of Truth in Etobicoke and Unity Center of Winnipeg. We also hold in mind all of the gatherings throughout the world of all different faiths, people who are gathered in prayer, praying for our world leaders, for our healthcare workers. We send out our caring, our respect, and our trust that all those prayers joined together are creating wondrous, positive vibrations. And today, in the midst of many challenges, we affirm our intuitive wisdom. We affirm the intuitive divine wisdom of our leaders, of our healthcare workers, that they be guided in the best paths to serve those who need them most. We affirm our own inner radiance, our own loving harmony with divine energy. And we know that many in our Unity of London community are facing health challenges or maybe feeling lonely. And to those people, we affirm their strength of spirit, their prayerful source of vital energy, God-filled energy that flows through them. If you wish to pray for anybody specially right now, please whisper their name into the silence. Those people may be close by or they may be far away, but may they feel a source of comfort within. And we hold in prayer our dear Nancy Youngson, Chuck Semple, Fred, Tanya, and anyone else who needs that extra boost of prayer right now. We hold in prayer the families, the friends, the loved ones of those who are in need, because often the caregivers need lots and lots of love and support. And at any time during the day, we can pray on them. Don, I think you need to unmute.
Okay. You are unmuted by the host, it says. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Today's reading from the Daily Word. I shine my light and feel protected. Feelings of fear that creep into my life may conjure childhood memories of scary nighttime images and noises. As a child, I may have felt afraid of the dark or startled by an unfamiliar sound, but that morning sun always dispelled the darkness, and I realized there was never anything to fear. I keep that knowledge alive as I let the divine presence within dissolve the darkness of fear and shine the light of comfort and safety. Now, when the darkness descends in my life, I remember the protecting love, presence, and power of God expressing as me. As I attune more fully to my divine nature, light dawns within my consciousness, and I realize that God's protection is always mine. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalms 27, verse 1. I have the pleasure this morning to introduce today's speaker, Marilyn Smith. Marilyn is a member of Unity of Kitchener and was an early adopter of New Thought ideas and searched for many years for a spiritual home. Marilyn first attended Unity of Kitchener in November of 2003 and became a member in early 2004, knowing that these teachings serve a lifelong purpose. Since that time, she's taken an active interest in Unity of Kitchener, serving on several teams, organizing events and fundraisers, and serving as the board president from 2008 to 2015. She is currently vice president on the Unity of Kitchener board. Marilyn, an optometrist, an optician. Sorry, I don't know if there's a difference, Marilyn. She's an optician and taught at the University of Waterloo School of Optometry for almost 30 years. She opted for an early retirement from optometry in 2016 to concentrate on her true passion, which is teaching and speaking across Canada on both optometry topics and personal and team growth and development. She is an accredited facilitator for Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey, licensed Dream Builder life coach. Marilyn is the proud parent of daughter Alexandra, mother-in-law to Jessie, and proud to have Penelope, the wonder dog, as her grand puppy. Marilyn, Unity of London, welcomes you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. I'm just going to catch up my slides here a second and put them up for you. Let's get in the right direction here. There we go. So if you want to move your slides around, you know there's a little white button, it's a white slash mark, if you will, on the right-hand side that will allow you to make the screen smaller or bigger depending on who you want to see. There's also a speaker's view, and I don't like doing that because I don't want to just talk to my face. I'd rather talk to your faces. So I'm seeing a few on you on my screen. That makes me happy. So if that's okay with you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I so appreciate being here, and thank you for Pauline for reaching out and asking me to come into doing this. I am a somewhat regular speaker at Unity Kitchener. As we have, we're not having a minister right now. Our minister, Sharon Ketchum, which many of you might know, retired in 2015. And of course, for many of us, retirement does not mean not working, because she immediately moved to be with a partner in Lansing, Michigan. And Lansing, Michigan said, hey, you should be our minister at Unity. So, you know, there we go into retirement, and then we do other things every time. So anyway, thank you for letting me be here for the next few minutes with you. I have a talk called Where the Magic Happens. I wanted to thank Google and Facebook for all the images, because as I mentioned earlier on when we were chatting as a smaller group, many times talks just come to me because I see something on Facebook and go, oh, that would be a good talk. And then you sort of build things around it. And as always, the universe always offers a little more to you than you ever expect. So a lot of the graphics here came after I decided to put the talk together. So it's kind of fun. Couple of things just to say hello. Pauline, you were mentioning earlier about on Zoom, it's such a pleasure because we can see each other without masks, but that mask thing to me is about wearing a face mask is an act of love. I had a big birthday this past week, and the funniest thing was getting several masks for my birthday. They were themed. I got a birthday mask with cupcakes on it, and I got one with a Snellen chart because I'm in optometry with a big E and all the letters underneath. And I thought, how many times in our life have we been excited about getting masks? But it seemed really fun, and a lot of people were very kind to me. So that was a lot of fun. New word for you today, namaste. So oftentimes we say namaste. You know, the soul in me recognizes the soul in you, and we honor each other. But now that we all have masks on, we can say namaste. The mask I wear to protect you honors the mask that you wear to protect me. And I think that's a great unity saying, because we're always thinking of each other, protecting each other, encouraging each other in unity to sort of move on to other evolutions of things. And of course, this pandemic has taken us in a direction of evolution that we probably never really expected. But we've all kind of adapted in this glorious way of getting together on Zoom. And I think oftentimes of the things that we remember to be grateful for in the middle of things that we're struggling with. And oftentimes our gratitude is about, as you say, being able to see faces in the morning on Sunday that we recognize and gather together in such a fun way. So namaste to everyone as you put your mask back on to venture back out into the world. And just for the last little biblical saying today, as for me and my house, we'll just stay where we're at. First isolation's 24/7. And I don't know where you find that in the Bible, but I thought it was pretty amusing. So I think it's where we're all at these days. Gathering in smaller groups. Some things getting a bit larger. I don't know how it's been at Unity London, but I'm sure you've had the same question we've had at Unity Kitchener. When is the church going to open? And it's the question, the answer right now we have is we don't know. Because there's a lot to opening again that's not about gathering. It's about the safety factors and the cleaning factors and having people be available and ready to do all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And I'm sure you're in a lot of the same boat, that of course it's all about planning and stuff. So being able to be together on Zoom is awesome. So let's start with where the magic begins. Here's a little chart to show you. We're going to walk through each of these parts today. This would be about personal growth, but I also always feel it's about spiritual growth as well. We always can start at a comfort zone, Sometimes when we walk away from the comfort zone, we get into a fear zone. That's when people run back into the comfort zone. So they don't ever get past that because it's too frightening and they don't want to move past there. From the fear zone, when we can get to our fears and name them and say, oh my gosh, they're just things in my head, we can get to the learning zone. The next zone is open to us because then we're open and inspired to see things that might be signs for us to move through and start finding motivating factors, gathering people that are like-minded, hearing things that we might not have heard before as teaching factors. And then lastly, where the magic happens, and you can see sort of out on the left-hand side, it's got that little set of arrows there. Where the magic happens is in the growth zone. That's where things actually begin. And you start to have fun, you start to see things being realized, and often motivates you to do even more, which is even more fun. So let's start with where the magic happens, and we always have to start at the beginning. Keep in mind, it's a little bit like a lot of life processes. You probably go through all 4 of the steps every time we walk through to a dream or a thought or a new relationship, new job, new situation, leaving school, all those kind of things. And where the magic happens tends to be in that growth zone, but we might move through the other 3 zones really easily and get there. The other ones, time takes its own journey, right? We don't have a reflection of time, really. It's just a human made up concept. And we don't know how much time something will take. So staying with a dream, many at the same time, if you wish, is about moving through those different zones and knowing this too shall pass, and moving into the next zone is never about the time frame. I want this by next Tuesday doesn't always work. It may be by Wednesday it shows up, but you gave up on Tuesday, which is never very good. So always think of things being long-term, and long-term in the definition of time means nothing in the long run. So we know in unity, there's no definition of time. It's however long it takes. And I think the reflection metaphysically is they talk about that in the 40 days of many things in the biblical sense. 40 days means it takes as long as it takes. And that's the metaphysics of that. Anybody know anybody that lives in the comfort zone? I think I know a few people that live in the comfort zone. Comfort zone is easy. It's safe. It's comfortable, obviously. It's also the place of no growth. No growth happens because nothing can get in or out to make any growth occur. There are people, I think there's a saying that says, you can live for 90 years, or you can live the same year 90 times over. And that's what a comfort zone is never taking a risk, always being safe, never wanting to venture any farther, never taking a new idea and running with it, and never seeing anything as a spiritual growth to say, could I question something right now, and move on through the questioning and sometimes have hard conversations about where I might want to be at, different things that might occur. So oftentimes we see that comfort zone as being, oh, well, comfort must be good, but it actually isn't good. In a lot of ways, it's just certainty. And there's nothing certain in this world. And again, going back to this pandemic situation, who thought a year ago this is where we'd be? We didn't know, right? So everything is evolving all the time. We must be in the same way. Mary Morrissey says, being afraid of staying in your be afraid of being stuck in your comfort zone. Being afraid of it means that you're willing to say, even with a bit of fear, that rumbliness we get in our stomach where we clench up a little bit, think, oh, I'm afraid of walking out of this circle. Yeah, do it, because the fear allows you to move on. It makes you question things and want to move out into those spaces that start to be different and intriguing and fun and take us in different places. So be afraid of staying stuck in the comfort zone. It really gets you nowhere. This is Napoleon Hill, and you may have heard of Napoleon Hill. He was a prolific writer. He was challenged by Andrew Carnegie way back in the late 1800s, early 1900s to gather information for people that lived good lives. And his most famous book was called Think and Grow Rich. He also wrote some other ones, Good as Gold, The Path to Personal Power, The Land of Survivors, and The Luck of Success. Many, many books that he wrote about the mindset of people that live lives well. Of course, a lot of things are based on money, but you'll find that in any motivational speaking, in any growth in a spiritual sense, everything that talks about being able to be rich is usually rich in life. that also has a financial component, of course. We have those sort of 5 pillars of our careers and our hobbies and our health and our relationships and our finances and our spiritual growth. And if one of those is out of whack, if one of our pillars is not rich, we find that other things get affected. You could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have good health, there's an issue. You could be totally great in a career path, but if you're not encouraging good relationships and find spirituality where you're moving ahead all the time with an evolving universe, you're not really rich. So even though they talk about things being rich, it's really about having a richness of life. Anyway, Napoleon Hill, in one of his books, thought about this hypnotic rhythm that people get into. And people get into a hypnotic rhythm based on that comfort zone. I do what I do. I do what I've been told to do. I've been maybe do what my parents told me to do. My community told me to do. My culture told me to do. And I'll never question those things. And that's people that stay inside a comfort zone. And I know you probably can't see the page well, so I printed it for myself, A New Way to Pray. He says, since becoming better acquainted with my other self, and in this way, he's talking about his spiritual self. He said, I became a different way to pray. It's what I used to do is go pray when I was facing difficulty. Oh God, please help me. Only when I needed some help. And he said, now I pray, not for more of the world's good or greater blessings, but to be worthy of that which I already have. And I find this plan is better than the old one. So rather being praying out of desperation or concern or only when needed, he was saying, I think I will pray out of gratitude. I will look to say thank you more often versus will you help me in some outside spiritual way. And we know that in unity, our principles stand for the fact that we are and God is within. So our spiritual being is within ourselves. So the new way to pray that he thought of is bringing his mind and body together, being appreciative of what was already there, looking for all the good, and then recognizing the good and saying thank you. So he was kind of a cool guy that might have been a bit ahead of his time, but he was in the time of Charles and Merle Fillmore as well. So a lot of New Age thinking was being around at that time. And these people are the ones we look back to and think, oh, wow, this is very profound writing and very prolific stuff. But they were actually shifting and changing a lot of mindsets as to what was happening in the world at that time, which is just kind of fun. But as I say, you'll find that even speakers today, the Tony Robbins, the Bob Proctors, the Marianne Williamsons, Deepak Chopras, they may talk about a financial pillar of things, but there is no motivational speaker that will not talk about having a spiritual life involving the universe, understanding that we co-create at all times, and all thoughts become things with some kind of attitude that goes along with those thoughts. It's not like magically things appear in the room, but the more we continue certain thoughts, the more often those thoughts tend to manifest themselves. And I'm sure as Unity people, you have either corrected out loud or in your mind when people say those wrong things that we hear people say, right? I'm such a loser. I never have any good luck. That never happens to me. I didn't grow up that way. And we always think, no, take it in a different way. We want you to sort of think positively. That more positive factor is the interaction with the universe moving with you with spirit guided positivity, so that we know that we're always in a co-creative factor. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of sound mind. If you're stuck drifting from Timothy 1:7, face your fears and use your brain. You're better than this. And we are always better than this. We can rise above any situation, even when we're faced with the situations that seem most difficult. Even when we have things that we think, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'll get through this. We are always walking with spirit. And that is when we turn to spirit and are able to be guided and evolve in a different way. Martin Luther King said, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. And we often talk about a dark room can be lit by a single flame. And all we need to do is take steps with the single flame and we continue to see light in front of us. And that's really spirit guiding us in the ways that we can move out of our comfort zone to those next steps. Well, where's the next step is the fear zone. It doesn't sound like very much fun, but in a lot of ways, it's where we learn a lot. So our fear zone often comes up of, I can't, I don't have the resources, I don't have the intellect, I don't have a way to do this, I don't have the self-confidence, I'm simply afraid of feeling a failure. But you'll find that, again, most people that have successes have indeed have failures along the way. That's not what anybody talks about. Of course, we talk about our successes the most, but it'll end up that, people have had failed businesses that have turned into something else, failed relationships that have turned into something better later on, failed situations that they said, I learned from all of that what not to do again. I think it was Thomas Edison said he learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb, but invented many things in the meantime, which was kind of fun. And we often have these things that turn up. If you can see the graphic there, here's your dreams at the front, and there's your goals at the back, sort of down the road somewhere. And all along the way, we have everybody telling us how it can't happen. And even when you talk to children, you'll find that this will occur. A child will have a dream, and adults will say, well, don't be too excited about that. You might be disappointed. Maybe aim a little lower, just to be sure. Right? We don't want anybody to be disappointed, but part of having goals and dreams and aspects of things being better is to have to move through the fear, the situations, the pessimism people show up. You'll notice right at the front of that line is the relatives. Anybody ever have family step in? How you can't do that? That doesn't happen here. We don't do those kind of things. That's not where our background is. It happens all the time. And sometimes it's extremely well-meaning. It's not because they want to put anything down. It's just that they want to remind you that they'll be there to hold you back in the comfort zone if you want to stay there. And in fact, usually the person moving forward with dreams or goals that are different than are literally holding up the mirror. And the mirror to the other people is like, but I'm not doing that, so I can't let you do that. Have you ever had people that have come out of your life or maybe dropped out of your life? Sometimes it's when you've held the mirror up sometimes, and it's just too bright for them to see through. They walk away, they drift away, people move away, you have an argument maybe about something you can't be able to come to agreement with. There's all kinds of things that can happen. But in the long run, this is where the fear zone is, and the fear zone will put up every possible roadblock, literally like this graphic, roadblock that's in the way. Walking through them can be something that's difficult, although if you have confidence and say, I will move through this fear, you will get to the next zone. There's a saying that says we can't always choose the music life plays for us, but we can choose how we dance to it. And I think of somebody like Rick Hansen, and a lot of you remember Rick Hansen, the Man in Motion tour 20 or 25 years ago. Gentleman born into a wheelchair situation. I can't remember if he had an accident or if he actually born that way. I can't remember. But no use of his legs, and yet he was committed to take his wheelchair across Canada and make sure that he could raise money for all of the spinal cord injury stuff and everything that he could. These are people that didn't necessarily choose the music, but chose to dance in the life that was given in the best possible way. And we always have that opportunity to do that. As we move from fear and all those things that get in the way, and we're starting to really recognize now that we are literally in a co-creative situation all the time. Have we recognized it? Have we always used it to our advantage? Have we always checked our words, our deeds, the way we move through stuff? Because sometimes the fear zone takes us back into the comfort zone because we don't recognize them where we're talking, bad talk to ourselves or not using signs the way we should. That's a sign to move on. Shutting the door on things that might be actually movement opportunities to move forward. And then we get into the learning zone. And the learning zone is sometimes when we leave some things behind. Maybe it's a certain spiritual or cultural way of being that we move into something new. Maybe it's a certain group of people that we move away from. Maybe it's a job we've had for 25 years and say, I'm ready for something new and different, and people are shocked that you would leave some security that's like that. Maybe it's a change in relationships after a long period of time. Any of those things could happen. Maybe it's just a new adventure. Once we move past fear and know that a spirit is always guiding us, particularly when we're looking at it in a sense of gratitude. Thank you for that fear. Thank you for those lessons I needed to move through. Thank you for letting the door stay open a little longer before I was ready to step through it. Thank you for showing me those signs. And then we say, this is actually becoming more of a comfort zone to me because I've moved past fear. I've got some confidence now, and I see some enhanced motivation that actually is giving me skills towards where the magic can happen. And you'll notice now on the graphic, we start to see the outside space coming in, and we see where the magic happens is just a little farther down the way. Time has no value, so we don't know how long that will take. I have a very fast story. This talk is probably too long, but I was keen to live in a place where there was water. And of course, I live near Guelph, so Kitchener, Guelph has no water anywhere. But I went to a Bob Proctor thing. This was years and years ago, 2000 actually, and had this vision of where I was going to live. And I have a long story about that, but it doesn't matter. I just want to tell you that the little house I live in right now is a cottage on a river, and it took me 15 years to find that cottage. And when I found it, I wasn't looking. I came to visit friends of mine in this little cottage community, and the whole vision I had had 15 years before presented itself in the most amazing way that I started to cry. And there was a place for sale, and I bought it immediately. So just visions that turn out, you think, 15 years? You had vision for 15 years? Well, I just kind of held on to it because, hey, it wasn't going away, so why not, right? But the idea, what moved me to that is a story I could tell you for half an hour that's pretty fun and pretty cool, but it took me through out of the comfort zone, into the fear zone, getting to the learning zone, paying attention to the signs. And that was all co-created as far as I was concerned, because I wasn't ready to have this cottage when I first thought of it. And we started to do the co-creation idea. I was ready to have it when it was meant to be. And then it presented itself, as it often does. Deepak Chopra says, all great changes are preceded by chaos. You'll notice in the fear zone and the learning zone, the most chaos will occur. If you've ever gotten to that place where you're on the cusp of something big, and I think it's Joel Osteen that talks about a dream being kind of like having a baby. You get towards the end and the labor begins. The labor is the hard stuff. Am I going to get through this? What do I need to do to make this happen? Sometimes it's not even things that seem to be attached. But the universe will often just show up enough to say, Spirit sort of whispering, are you ready for this? Are you okay with this? Can you manage this? Let's move forward. I'm with you, but I'm going to put a few obstacles in the way to know that you really, really want to be there. So all great changes are preceded often by chaos is true. So don't let the chaos get in the way. See it as learning steps. Seeing it as new things to know about. Seeing it as saying, I'm good. I've got this. And with Spirit guiding me, I have got this entirely. I am never, ever walking alone. And that's the most important thing. This is from Wayne Dyer's website. Wayne Dyer left us to go to his next home, if you will, a couple of years ago. But awareness leads to your higher self. Ego leads to your earthbound self. When you get stuck in the ego, what do I get out of this? How come I have to do all this hard work? You stay earthbound. And it's the idea of staying in the comfort zone is where that's at. You rise to a higher level when you put the ego out of the way and go to the awareness part of things. Ego says, once everything falls into place, I will find peace. Well, of course, ego always wants to have peace without any effort. So it all has to fall into place outside of ourselves first. Spirit says, find peace and everything will fall into place. That's the inside work. That's the co-creating. That's the one walking with Spirit saying, thank you for guiding me. I will be guided, and things that are presented, I know I'm walking with Spirit to be able to find answers and move through this with the strength that I need to do. And that's from Marianne Williamson. So lastly, we get to where the magic happens, and the magic is a growth zone. You notice it doesn't say the end zone. It doesn't say this is where it all stops and you get a bit of magic. This is where the growth zone occurs, that you may see fulfilled dreams. You may see things that create movement and creativity and allow new ideas to occur. You might find you get to that place and there's new goals that are able to set. Doesn't mean you will go right back to the comfort zone and go through all 4 stages again, but maybe you move to a new space that's a comfort zone and move to a fear zone, learning zone, and growth zone that are of new things to have happen. And I think most of us here probably have been through some of these things, and you say, yeah, that took me to a whole other place. And I wanted to do more with that. I was keen to have more of the magic. Once you've moved through the fear and learning zones and said, I can step through this. My daughter got off at a big contract. She's in film and television special effects. And we had a discussion the other night because she was really feeling fearful. It's her first really big movie contract that she's been given. But she's done all this before with another company. And she's done all the work that it is. She just hasn't had the money and the contract in her hand. So we had a big discussion about the fact that she's actually been through the learning. She's just dropped back to the fear because now it's all on her shoulders. But she's actually done the work before. So to walk through the idea of giving thanks, to say, thank you for having already shown me that. And that's all good. The magic can still happen even when we're moving to new learning zones and new growth zones. So this is where it actually does happen. There is no way to get to the growth zone from the comfort zone without going through the other parts, but sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer. We never worry about time. That's the most important thing. Here's what some of your prayers might look like on the top left-hand side. Dear God, just a big bunch of, I don't know what the heck's going on. Amen. God hears and says back, dear child, I know, and I love you, from God. Let it go. Remember, the thoughts held in your mind are reflected in the world that you see. So choose the light, choose the peace, choose the love. Even when it seems like the hardest thing to do, that God that's answering that prayer says, dear child, I know, and I love you, regardless of the fact that you cannot always verbalize what you're confused about, what you're looking for, or where you're going to. Sometimes the best prayer, as Meister Eckhart said, is thank you. And thank you is okay for where we're at right now sometimes, because that's the best I can do. And that's okay to say that to Spirit, where you're at. So do the universe a favor, don't hide your magic. Where there is kindness, there is goodness. And when there is goodness, that's where the magic happens. The idea that if we can live with the idea of knowing that magic will occur, the magic will occur. We just don't always know what that's going to look like. And it may be baby steps along the way. There might be things we think, oh, there we are, it's done. No, it may not be done yet. Look for the next step of magic. We can always go there. You know the famous saying by Marianne Williamson, don't hide your light. Who are you to hide your light and be small? We need to be large. Shining your light does not diminish anybody else's. It lets it shine brighter. And that's why we always want to shine that magical light, so everybody can live in a place of always knowing that it can always be better, look better, do better. All of our 5 pillars can always be better, and co-creating with Spirit knows there's a universe that is constantly working on our behalf. It really, really is, because you tend to know that if people live in a difficult mindset where there's a lot of negativity, what do they get? A lot of negativity, unfortunately. They can prove it to themselves. And then the mindset switches. It's like, oh my goodness, there's a whole other situation out there that I'm able to draw in to myself where it goes there. You don't need you don't need to believe in magic. You are the magic. You need to believe in yourself. And once you believe in yourself, you know you're able to do that. A lot of more conventional religions, and I would say this is not unity. I believe unity is created from something very different. The idea of not having dogma, the ability to move forward. We were having a discussion at Unity the other day in Kitchener about on Zoom about what would Myrtle and Charles be talking about now. Would we have even different ways and different words of speaking about things, because they always wanted to evolve. So just wanted to mention that when you talk about magic in other religious organizations, they think of it as being a bit more like voodoo or devil talk, if you will. And I don't believe that's true. Almost every shaman calls in spirit to be helpful when they're healing. Almost every pagan ritual has some kind of idea of drawing in the universe to be kind and to be supportive and to be helpful in any ritual that has gone through. So I wanted to mention to you, this is on Facebook, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'll take it. Abracadabra is from the Aramaic phrase meaning ava cadabre, which means I will create what I speak. So I think you can now take on the word abracadabra as being a total unity word, and meaning we co-create, and I will create what I speak. And I will create what I speak, I believe, means I will co-create what I speak. Always moving with Spirit in that one pillar of spiritual growth that is constant. It's not just about finances. It's not just about health and relationships and career. There needs to be a spiritual awareness of the fact that we co-create with the universe in a constant way. And I want to let you know something that we do at our board meeting. Our board president, Marg, always talks about having to have a to-do list and a to-done list. So it's to-do and to-done. And now we say, ta-da! So to-do, to-done, ta-da! And this was the graphic was, want a surefire way to spice up your affirmations? Finish them with these magical words. Ta-da! It makes everything sound better. Do you ever make a list of things to do today and maybe put a couple things you've already done so you can kind of cross them off the list? And, you know, I did the dishes, so I crossed that off my list. Ta-da! It always makes things feel a little bit better to say ta-da after anything. So you also have permission to use that after any affirmation or prayer that you wish to put out there. Just say ta-da as if it is already done. Then you leave it with Spirit, and Spirit will co-create with that and be able to work with you in that situation. Do remember, though, as Stephen Covey says, to be patient with yourself. Self-growth is tender, and tender is such a sweet word because it's true. We go back to being children. We are afraid of some things we don't know. We don't know the monsters under the bed. We're not sure what that looks like in that dark abyss that's outside of the way of the light. So self-growth is tender. It's really holy ground, but there is no greater investment. And the idea of moving towards being that better human being in this small time we have in this skin suit, that we're able to co-create and do the best good we can. And it's not always personal. Keep it in mind, we may have personal growth, but we are always affecting everything and everyone around us. So world growth, better ecology, better things for our world, better things for third world communities. Anything that we can do that we take in that place is not just selfish. It's for our whole world to be better. You can't be committed to your dream and your comfort zone at the same time. So if we stay in the comfort zone, you realize you're there, maybe say, what would it be different if I stepped out of this comfort zone and took on something new and something different? That might be just kind of fun. Mary Morrissey says, every failure looks like a no when it's actually a not this way. So we may get to forks in the road. And I remember I learned a long time ago on the spiritual path, there's forks in the road and you can never take the wrong fork. There's never the wrong direction. Whatever you're moving towards is the right lessons for you to have along the way. And they will take you to something else. They might be difficult lessons. They might feel like it's not fair. It might feel like a no is a failure, but it's not a failure. It's just not this way. There's always another way. And isn't it funny when I go to sort of look at my talks, I often touch them the day before, and that came up on my Facebook yesterday. This came up on my Facebook from Wayne Dyer yesterday. To enter the world of real magic, you must enter the dimension of spirituality. So to know that we co-create is probably the most basic of needs of any dreams that we want to realize. If we don't have the co-creation aspect, the spiritual dimension of those sort of 5 pillars that we live with, we really don't have the key to being able to move forward in the most positive and possibly the easiest way, in the sense that the universe will only give us what we need to learn along the way to make it that much better at the outcome. So where the magic happens is on the outside, that beautiful growth zone. Let's move into meditation. I'll have you to take a minute to be settled in your chair. You can close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Sit comfortably and feel your chair fully supporting you. Just for these few minutes, let's sit back and slip back into our comfort zone. Know that all is well. Know that you are fully supported. Know your community surrounds you. Know and release that any concerns about your journey to where the magic begins are always supported. And in this few minutes together, let's know we can always go to where the magic happens. Take a deep cleansing breath and let it go. Let it go, and just for a few moments in silence, let's think of the things that we can be truly grateful for today. I hope you were able to think about a few things to be grateful for, that maybe the small things. You know, I had a hot shower this morning. I had breakfast on my food table this morning. This interesting COVID thing has allowed me to spend time with people in very different ways and for very different reasons, but thank goodness for electronics, and I were able to gather that we wouldn't be able to do in the past. I'm going to read some adapted words from Elaine Katie's book, Opening Doors Within. I just rewrote them to be a little more in the unity way. Be willing to move forward fearlessly and pioneer seemingly new ways, new concepts, and new ideas. Be willing to break down the old barriers and reveal the light of truth. I say seemingly new because nothing is really new. It is a question of moving full cycle, of once again learning to walk and talk with spirit, knowing you are never alone and you are always guided. With another deep breath, feel yourself growing and expanding. As we move out of comfort zones, we can feel the old drop away, and we can put on the new with joy and with thanksgiving. How glorious is that new? How wondrous is the universe when you work in harmony with its absolutely magical ways. Become consciously aware of the divine, and know this presence is always within you, regardless of circumstances. No matter when the biggest no has shown up, the divine is always within you and walking beside you at all times. Let the peace and love of our Christ consciousness infill you and enfold you. Lift up your heart. Lift up your heart in deep love, deep faith, and deep gratitude. And be at perfect peace as you go through these many magical journeys of life. Again, in the silence, for a few moments, envision a few of those things that may be where the magic happens for you. With a gentle abracadabra, come back to our reality. The magic should both make you excited and a little scared. That's okay. That's where the magic happens. We can return to the here and now, renewed and excited to be alive, ignited to learn, delighted to grow, and excited to expand. Gently open your eyes if you haven't already, and know that Spirit walks with you and you are always guided. Namaste and namaste. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much, Marilyn Smith. What rich content.
Thank you.
You gave us messages that we can take away with us, that we can practice every day. And the namaste is something that I wrote down. The to do, to done, to da, and the progression that you shared with us was something that we can all work at. We thank you very much. And namaste. And
Namaste and namaste to you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And we would like to take a moment right now to thank everybody in our community, for continued tithes and gifts to our spiritual community. We continue to be prosperous and abundant. That is how the flow of prosperity works. As we give, so shall we receive. And if you would like to join me now in the prayer for protection, the light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. Yay, God.
All right.
Thank you, Marilyn. That was wonderful.
Oh, it was
Great.
indeed.
Thank you kindly. It's a fun talk because it's kind of all our unity basics, but it makes it kind of fun to think about.
It's magic.
Mhm.
It's magic.
Yes.
Very inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Who came in late? Hey, Sylvia Square. Hi, sweetie.
Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. We already saw you, George. Oh, George Wilson. Hi, George. Two Georges side by side on our screen. How do you like that? Is that Suzanne? Yeah. Hi, Suzanne. She's not talking.
Hey, we
She's
can't
not
see
talking
Kathy.
to you. Hi, Suzanne.
That might be it, eh, John?
There you are.
Hi,
Janet.
Nancy.
Hey, hi.